Okay, we got a cone and a squared around. We got a project here and a project drawing. So with this project drawing, the small round end we have 168, big round in the middle we got 350, and we're 100 and 100, so 200 on the inside for the squared around. So 200 from there to there on the inside. We have our cone and our patterns. Patterns here, we have a 158 inside diameter, so we're able to check as we're bending to make sure we get the proper diameter there. And we're going to have some math here to start. So our mean diameter of the small end of the cone, because that's where all the bend lines are going to come from, times pi divided by 2, because it is just a half pattern. You get 256. We're going to divide that by 10 to figure out our spacing, and we're going to have 25.6 millimeters bend line to bend line. So that would be the distance from this bend to this bend, and the same all over. How did we come up with 25.6? We're shooting for about an inch. So we have a 1.5 inch V-block, which is about 38 millimeters for 1.5 inches. Divide that by 2 plus 5, so we don't fall off the V-block. So about 24 millimeters is what we want from bend line to bend line, approximately. So we can round that up or down, and we rounded that. This number is bigger, so we rounded this down to 10 instead of 11. How many degrees per bend? Well, we're doing 180 degrees. We have 10 sections or spaces, 18 degrees per bend. Now when we say 18 degrees per bend, that means on the press brake, we're gonna have half the bend on one side and half on the other side. So that means we have 9 degrees here. So you're gonna wanna use some tools, something like these. This one here is great tool, no batteries required. It's got the included angle and the half angle, so pretty handy working on this tool, or your digitals like this one here and this one here. So as you're bending, you always want to accommodate for some spring back. So when we're going 18 degrees, we would like to go about 19 or 19.5 for about 1 to 2 to 3 degrees of spring back, depending on the grain direction and the type of material it is. This is just steel, 3/16, and you can see the diameters that we're looking for here: 340 on the inside, 150 on the top on the inside. Very important to number your bends. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then over on the other side, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You always want to end up in the middle at the end. Okay. So make sure you get your center line on here, and then you can divide out, so 25.6 millimeters between each bend line. And you can bring that up to a apex. Through the apex, draw through this intersection all the way down to the bottom, or you can do the math on the bottom as well and divide that into 10. Our squared around, since we divided it into 10, we're also going to divide this into 10. So we got 5 on this side and 5 here on the other side. These are going to come up to the square end here, right here. And here's that relief cut. Super important that we get that relief cut in there. This one is 1 inch long, and it helps bring that around. Without that, this will round out and will be very difficult to get 90. So back over here, it comes up to here. The ones that share here are half bends. So for the half bends, we're going to be going about 11.5 degrees. So we're going to overshoot these ones quite a bit, because bend will come out of these as we're doing these other bends here, the full bends. So we call the 1, 2, 3, and 4 the half bends, and the ones in the middle the full bends. So we're going to go 19 degrees instead of 18, because when we bend this one, or in this one will take the bend out of this one. So that's what happens with the squared around. So you do need to overbend along the way. The last bend you do, you only need to do 18 degrees, or you can do a 19 and just pull it out after. So it's always best to overbend and then just pull the bend out, okay? Make sure you number those. Again, 4, we got 5, 6, and then we're gonna go 7, 8. We'll go over onto the other side. We'll go 9, 10, and then 11, 12, we end up in the middle-ish, okay? All right, let's get bending. Okay, we have some numbers up here for the half bend, 11.5. So we got 3.377, we got a 19 degree and an 18 degree. So we're gonna start with the cone here, 3.422. So we have this in here at 3.422, and it's never a bad thing to do a test bend. So here's a test bend here, and we're gonna have the Ram double stop on, and I'm gonna have it in the, let's put it down in the manual mode for this one. And as I bring the foot pedal down, it will stop. I can align my piece up right on the bend line. Bend. I can use my template here to check my angle. Should be over just a little bit. Put the spring back. Come over, check. And again, be very diligent on checking that. So make sure that is accurate as we go to bend up our cone. Our bend does not come off 90 degrees from there, but it actually, our bend calculation is 18 degrees from here. So this is actually going to be a little less of a bend than as if you were to rotate that down like that. Okay, let's go ahead and bend. And we'll stop every time. Line that up. You can always check that one. But we'll do 2 or 3 and then we'll check. I've done this before, so I know this should be fairly close. But if it was my first one, I'd be checking a little more often, making sure that fits exactly onto that template. Perfect. See that white line, and just put that in there just so it disappears. There's 4. These are all numbered. Always number your bends so you don't get confused or miss one. You know your order of operation. Again, it's never a bad thing to check your forming along the way until you're into a production run. Once you're into a production run, you know it's gonna fit, just like as we did the last one there. Everything's still going good, so we'll continue on. And the last one right on the middle, because then it doesn't collide with the press. So if you were to make this one your last one, then you're gonna lock yourself out of the machine and you won't be able to get in. That's why you always end up on center last. Very important. You will not be able to go back and correct any of the other bends. Now let's just kind of hope this is over bent just a little bit. Just happens actually to be perfect. So perfect is good. Also overbent is good as well. So it looks like it's overbent just a little bit on the bottom. We can easily spread that out. We can spread that out by placing this upside down, giving it a little hit this way, or we can put it in the vise and we can just pull it out that way as well. Okay, there's our cone. We have there we go there. Okay. Table's not quite flat. Okay. Do our squared around. But to do this one, we're going to need that 3.377. 3.377. And those will be our half bends. Let's go ahead and do our half bends first. And again, we're in manual mode. We do have our Ram double stop on there. And it's very important to have this tab. So as I bend this, this actually gets bent up. We'll cut this off after. And that relief cut is super important. Line that right up on that relief cut there. Hardest part is going to make sure that this is going to touch on the way around as it's coming up. And as we do another bend, that may take that bend out over there a little bit. We'll see this a little bit more as we get going here. Bring that up as close as you can. We're gonna see this a little bit better on this side. That almost got stuck in there just a little bit because it came up on that last bend. But this right here, as that bends down, that can take that bend out. So there's our half bends. Our half bends are now done. You can go ahead and check that half bend, and we want that to be over. Now we're going to change this up here. We're going to want the 19 degrees, 3.427. Okay, that's our 19 degrees. 4, we're going to 5. Very important number. So as we're bending here, you can see on the back here, that's going to break the back on that one. That's why we overbend those. So as we bend that one flattens out. Squared arounds are probably the more of the tricky bends, because it's not a perfect world when it comes into calculating how much to overbend. That's the hardest part. How much do I overbend so it comes out the shape I would like to the pattern? So we got 7, and then we'll finish on 8. We'll stay on this side of the machine. And again, just looking, that's looking pretty good over there, so I'm liking that. That as close as we can there. And then we'll finish up in about the middle there, and that's still going pretty good. And again, you can see this bend line, how it runs by, and that's going to flatten out as I do this. So I could go to 18 degrees on this one, because there is no other bend after this one. But I'm going to leave it here because I would rather overbend than underbend. And over here, so we'd like to make sure this is good. And that's excellent there. We're fairly 90 here. We'll be able to draw that over. We're gonna have to use a little bit of hand tooling on that one. So over here, and we're on to 9. And 10. This does not take long once this machine is set up. The hardest part is setting the machine. And 11. Making sure you get that 90 coming around where you want. Keep your fingers out of the way. A little bit harder because we have this other side to contend with here now. It's starting to bend up. And just got stuck there a little bit. Get that right on that white line. And let's make sure we have that 90 in. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, we've done a fairly well job there. Okay, so a little bit of research and development has paid off. Looks like our diameter is perfect, and it looks like these have come off fairly 90, and we'd be able to easily press that in or give this a little hit with the hammer. That'll bring that in, and then there we're done. And we'll cut these off last, and we're gonna double check to make sure both of these fit perfectly to the bend line before we cut that off. Okay, we've done everything correctly. There's nothing to cut here. These fit together perfectly, and then checking your diameters, and you may have to press. And that's the same with this. It could be just a little bit of fitting there involved as well. All right, there's our cone and our squared around.